This is Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 20th. On the eve of the State of the Union address, President Obama's approval ratings are the highest they've been since the 2011 raid that killed terror mastermind Osama bin Laden. In a poll of 843 adults, the president received a 50% approval rating and a 47% approval rating among registered voters. But the president's negatives remain high as well. 48% disapprove of the president's job performance. 1 year ago, Obama's disapproval sat at 53%. The 9-point bump in his approval rating may be attributed to his tours touting the economy. After seeing one of the worst Ebola outbreaks in history, the United States sent 3,000 soldiers to West Africa and planned to build 17 Ebola centers in response to the ongoing outbreak that the CDC predicted could affect 1.4 million people in Sierra Leone and Liberia by the end of 2014. Now in January, the number of Ebola cases has declined significantly, and researchers say Ebola could be eliminated by June. And it appears the U.S. response, in the form of a $750 million emergency plan, was too late. Many treatment centers sit empty, having treated no patients at all. In response to the decrease in Ebola cases, 2 facilities were scrapped and several closed temporarily. Staff will work in local hospitals affected by the outbreak, and the U.S. is denying there was any misallocation of resources. The Iranian government has shut down a newspaper after printing what it calls obscene speech by actor George Clooney. When Clooney accepted the Cecil B. DeMille Award at last week's Golden Globe ceremony, he gave support to the victims of the Charlie Hebdo shooting and for proponents of free speech around the world. The reform-minded newspaper had been in operation only 3 weeks before the court in charge of cultural affairs banned it for publishing a headline and picture it deemed insulting. The director of the newspaper, Ahmad Satari, told a local news agency. Documentary filmmaker Michael Moore took to Twitter to slam snipers and Chris Kyle in the wake of the record-shattering release of American Sniper, a film based on Kyle's autobiography. Moore wrote, quote, "My uncle killed by sniper in World War II. We were taught snipers were cowards. We'll shoot you in the back. Snipers aren't heroes and invaders are worse." His comments were roundly criticized on social media. Sergeant Nick Irving, who served as a sniper with the Army's 3rd Ranger Battalion, said of Moore, "Well, I don't think he deserves the breath that I'm about to give, but I'll just say Michael Moore, he wasn't there in Afghanistan, and the last time I checked, he's never shot anybody with a scoped rifle." Irving went on to say he did not care if Moore thanked him or not, adding, "A lot of good guys and a lot of my friends died, you know, for his right of freedom of speech, so I'm not really worried about what he has to say." This has been Amy Curtis with your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 20th.
Welcome back to the show, folks. This is the Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum. If you'd like to call in this segment, please do. 567-6879. At the Right Mics is our Twitter. We do have on the next half hour a friend of mine's son, Diane Strain, who called in last week, avid listener of the show. Her son has written a book on business. It's kind of an advice book for millennials. Logan is going to be on talking about that. But before we get to that, also friend of the show, in response to a couple of things we were talking about, Patty Newman tweeted us. I want to read her tweet, and then I want to give my responses to it. Patty tweeted, "I want amnesty for tacos and burritos. If you don't support it, you're a racist." And I responded, "Queremos comer comida de México bonita, está bien." And then somebody else asked, "What about quesadillas?" And I wrote, "Gustan quesadillas también con pollo carne y guacamole." Okay, just had to cover a little Twitter in Spanish.
Yeah, for our Spanish-speaking audience.
Well, or at least for Patty, who's listening, to know how we feel about comida de México y quesadillas con pollo y carne y guacamole.
I like all of that, by the way. I
Y
do
plátano.
get killer.
We can't forget the plátano.
What?
Sorry. Plátano. You got to go with the Caribbean people, too. You got to give the Caribbean Hispanics the plátano, the yuca, the rice and beans.
No, yuca, that's the, no.
And what was the first one? Go back to the first one.
Plantains is how you say it in English.
Oh, is that okay? Plantains.
Yeah, there.
They look like bananas, but they're nasty, right?
They're delicious. Shut up.
Yeah, they're delicious
the green
if you put them in like custard and sugar them and then braise them.
No, custard's disgusting.
No. We're not doing Caribbean influenced Spanish food. She asked about burritos and tacos, and we're not talking about plantains and yuca and all of that bizarre alternative.
Look, we're all immigrants too.
Yeah, well, my family's an immigrant. You don't hear me talking about kielbasa.
Well, yeah, we're only talking about the Spanish ones right now. Like, that's what counts.
Okay.
Breaking news and cutting-edge analysis on The Right Mic.
Cerveza y tequila también es muy importante.
Dude, when I was relatively young, well, I was really young. I mean, a couple 3 years out of college, one of my friends and I, and our girlfriends at the time, have what I somewhat, well, I won't say fondly, but refer to as a tequila summer. I have not been able to even smell tequila ever since.
I'm the same way with rum and Coke, man.
Yeah.
I had a really unfortunate experience with rum and Coke, and
I know what you're saying. Hey, listen, before we move on.
When I was in Canada, I did have some Havana Club because I wanted to have Cuban rum, and I was always, ever since Gene Hackman ordered that in The Firm, the movie, I always wanted, you know what, I want to try Havana Club rum. And it just tasted like rum, and it reminded me of that experience and never had any again. Okay,
so look, I don't like rum either. Excuse me. But I was in Puerto Rico, and we were on this all-day caravan thing, or what do you call it? Not a caravan, the catamaran. And it was like big. There was a bunch of people on it. They had an open bar, and it was all comped. And mojitos. You guys know mojitos, right?
Yep.
Okay, so that's like the national. Well, I think it was invented, if you will, and created in Cuba, but kind of the Caribbean. That's a big drink, and they had like just pre-made mojitos in I don't know what the hell, like a 50-gallon drum or something. It was a lot of it, and if you wanted it kind of kicked up a bit, they called it extra crispy. We had a few too many extra crispy mojitos, and the next day was particularly difficult. So anyway, hey, listen, we got stuff to talk about, and since we have a guest on at the bottom of the half hour, we move along a little bit. But I still want to, Jessica, throw in just to completely close the loop on what's going to happen tonight. Josh Earnest is pretty fired up, which I love that name, by the way. It's almost oxymoronic, you know, Josh and Ernest, and this guy speaks for Obama. I mean, figure that one out. Think about that a little bit. But Ernest on this morning, I think maybe Morning Joe, giving the old sales pitch about how wonderful the State of the Union speech is going to be tonight. Jessica, let's, as they say, roll that clip.
Well, so the other thing the president's going to be talking about is focusing on other ways we can actually benefit middle-class families. So one thing we know that middle-class families are going to need in the future is they're going to need the job, they're going to need the skills and training that they need so they can get the good middle-class jobs of the future. So the president's going to be talking about his proposal to make sure that hardworking students who are getting good grades can go to community college for 2 years for free. We're going to be talking about other policies that will support middle-class families, like making sure that that families can earn paid sick leave time. So that if they get sick, they can stay home, or if they have a kid who gets sick, they can stay home without taking a bite out of their paycheck.
That sounds like a lot of money. How do you guys pay for that without increasing the deficit?
Well, the most important way is we can close the trust fund loophole. The other thing that we can do is we can actually assess a fee on the largest, most highly leveraged firms on Wall Street. They'll have the benefit of providing an economic disincentive for Wall Street firms to borrow a lot of money, but also will raise a bunch of money. And essentially the tax proposals that we've put forward in terms of this new financial fee on the largest Wall Street firms, closing the trust fund loophole, and raising the capital gains tax rate to the level that it was under President Reagan, it more than pays for the proposals that the president's going to put out today that actually benefit middle-class families.
Dude, dude, Nirvana will arrive this evening. All he needed to say, what was it Joe who asked him, dude, that sounds like a lot of money. How's that going to be funded? All he just needed to say 2 words: wealth redistribution, man.
Oh my gosh, that's I just hear that and you're like, oh, this is going to be easy and great.
Oh, and he was so fired up. I mean, if you look at the video, I mean, he just beside himself with glee. Yeah, it's going to be the same old, same old. Like you said earlier, you can play last year's State of the Union. You can play the last 5 years' State of the Union speeches. It's the same stuff. He knows, I said this yesterday, he knows it's a non-starter. He knows it's going nowhere. And all he is going to do is to try to dictate the dialogue heading into 2016 for the Democrat Party. That's all it's about. And if he doesn't believe what I just said in his soul, then he is stupid, because that's exactly what he's doing.
Oh, you know what, Mike, you got to send me the link for that story so I can, because it's just, it's funny. It's so hard for me now not to hear this, as these guys are all just goofing. That they're actually having just a hilarious time making fun of this stuff. You know what I mean?
That picture, and it's been used a lot. It's all of them. Well, I know all of them. It's him and Axelrod and 3 or 4 other guys. And I don't know if they're around a desk or where they are, but Obama's laughing hysterically. Do you know what, oh, you've seen it. I don't know how to describe it better. But I can envision that scenario. Here's what I'm going to propose tomorrow night. And they just all laugh hysterically, because they know it's just, it's just like, let's just screw with them. Look, we got 2 years. We're screwed. The polls are going nowhere. It's going to get even worse as Obamacare news gets worse. We're out of here in 2 years. We can go write books and make, millions doing whatever else. Let's just screw with them for a couple of years.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like goofing.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, man, speaking of goofing, Whole Wellness Co-op tweet. This is the funniest thing, because the guy put it up on his Facebook site. Whole Wellness Co-op tweeted about this book called A is for Activist.
Right.
In fact, Kira Davis posted about this book, A is for Activist, yesterday, and I'll put it up on the site. And let me just read it here. It's the real thing, an ABC book for kids ages 0 to 3 that you, the unflinching progressive with the child in your life, can truly enjoy reading over and over and over again every night. And it is the most left Marxist social justice book you've ever read for kids.
Although, you know what, the website is nicely designed.
Yeah, and it's really nice. The candlelight vigil there, they have a graphic that shows you who all the celebrants are in the candlelight vigil. And they're every single person you could ever imagine of the historical leftist pantheon. Anyway, so the Whole Wellness Co-op tweeted about it, obviously having seen Kira's article or something, and the author's now following them. Because the line nowadays, like listening to Josh Earnest, I mean, I hear that and I think, okay, he is playing this so dry. The funny,
No, this is, yeah. Listen, we got to break this down maybe tomorrow or something and read through the alphabet of this thing. This is this warms the cockles of a liberal's heart, I would guess, because this hits home, man.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Tomorrow's going to be a big part of the State of the Union, of course.
Right.
Which I may just interpret as tongue-in-cheek and find it hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, just a thought, man.
Yeah, no, I'm transfixed looking at this website. An ABC board book for the kids of the 99%. How touching is that?
It's good. Well, we can read through some of them.
Okay.
Okay, so it goes to the alphabet. B is for banner, bobbing in the sky.
Okay, first of all, where are you clicking here?
Sample pages.
Okay, wait, I got to get up to sample pages.
Although, you know what?
Okay.
Just the frequently asked questions, Mike.